Stick with me, because in this video, we're breaking down 5 powerful lessons from Steve Jobs' success that you can use right now to transform your future. They told him he wasn't cut out for success. He was a college dropout, a young man with no clear direction. At one point, Steve Jobs was even fired from the very company he created. Imagine that. Building something from scratch only to be pushed out and told you're no longer needed. But here's the twist. That rejection, it became the turning point. The fire that fueled his greatest comeback. Today, Steve Jobs is remembered as one of the greatest visionaries of all time. He didn't just create products. He changed the way we live, communicate, and dream. And here's the question you need to ask yourself. What did Steve Jobs know that you can apply to your own life today? Picture this. It's the mid-1970s. A young Steve Jobs is restless. He drops out of college, not because he's lazy, but because he feels trapped. The traditional path doesn't make sense to him. He spends his nights sleeping on the floors of friends' dorm rooms. He returns Coke bottles for spare change. And every Sunday, he walks 7 miles across town just to get a free meal at the local Hare Krishna temple. From the outside, it looked like failure. But Jobs later said, "Much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless." He found inspiration in unexpected places. A calligraphy class taught him the beauty of typography, a detail that years later would make the Macintosh the first computer with stunning fonts. But here's the darkest moment. After founding Apple and rising to fame, Jobs' relentless drive and bold decisions clashed with Apple's board. In 1985, at just 30 years old, Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. For many, that would have been the end. But for Jobs, it was only the beginning. He later said, "It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it." That firing led him to create Next, to buy Pixar, to return years later and transform Apple into one of the most valuable companies in history. And that journey is packed with lessons you can use. Lesson 1. Follow your curiosity. Jobs once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." Think about that. When he dropped into that calligraphy class, it didn't make sense. But that curiosity shaped the entire design philosophy of Apple. Here's the point. The things you're curious about today might look random, but later, they can become your greatest advantage. Here's how you can use this. Don't ignore your curiosity. If something excites you, explore it. Read that book, learn that skill, start that side project. One day, the dots will connect. Lesson 2. Embrace failure as fuel. Remember, Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the company he built, his dream taken away. But instead of letting it break him, he turned failure into fuel. He built Next. He grew Pixar into a powerhouse that gave us Toy Story, and in the process, he became sharper, wiser, and stronger. Here's how you can use this. The next time you fail, don't ask why me. Ask, what is this teaching me? Your setback isn't the end. It might be the setup for your biggest breakthrough. Lesson 3. Think different. Apple's most iconic campaign said it best. Here's to the crazy ones. Jobs believed innovation comes from those who dare to challenge the status quo. He didn't ask, how do we make a better computer? He asked, how do we make technology so simple, so beautiful that it becomes part of everyday life? That's why we have iPhones in our pockets today. Here's how you can use this. Stop asking how to fit in. Start asking how to stand out. What unique perspective do you bring? Because the world doesn't reward sameness, it rewards difference. Lesson 4. Obsess over simplicity. Jobs had an obsession. Simplicity. He once said, "Simple can be harder than complex." But it's worth it, because once you get there, you can move mountains. That's why Apple products look clean, intuitive, and timeless. It wasn't about adding more. It was about stripping away everything unnecessary. Here's how you can use this. In your work, in your goals, even in your life, simplify. Cut the clutter. Focus on what truly matters, because clarity leads to mastery. Lesson 5. Stay hungry. Stay foolish. This was the mantra Jobs lived by. In his 2005 Stanford commencement speech, he said, "Stay hungry. Stay foolish." What did he mean? Never settle. Never believe you've arrived. Keep chasing. Keep experimenting. Keep daring, because the moment you think you've made it, you stop growing. Here's how you can use this. Stay curious. Stay bold. Don't wait for permission to chase your dream. Keep that hunger alive, because it's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Think about it. Steve Jobs wasn't successful because of luck. He wasn't successful because everything went smoothly. No, he was successful because he lived by these principles every single day. He followed his curiosity, turned failure into fuel. He thought differently. He simplified relentlessly. And he stayed hungry. These weren't just ideas. They were choices. Choices he made over and over again, even when it was hard. And here's the truth. You can make those same choices. Your story isn't written yet. And if Jobs could rise from sleeping on the floor to being fired to changing the world, what's stopping you? So which of these lessons hit you the hardest? Was it turning failure into fuel? Or staying hungry and foolish? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if this video gave you even one spark of motivation, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more powerful success stories. Because your journey is just getting started. Stay hungry, stay foolish, and I'll see you in the next one.